Hello everyone, let's look at Leetcode question 283, move zeros. This question states, given an integer array nums, move all zeros to the end of it while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero elements. Note that you must do this in place without making a copy of the array. So in the first example, it's array 0, 1, 0, 3, 12, so the output becomes 1, 3, 12, 0, 0. Okay, so all the zeros go to the end of the array. The constraints are that the nums.length is between 1 and 10,000 numbers, and the values of each number are between 2.1 or negative 2.1 and positive 2.1 billion. So let's take a look. Okay, so we first define j to be 0 in our code, then we loop through every number in the nums array. We check if that number is not equal to 0. Because we want the zeros to the end of the array, we check first for all non-zero values. So if it's a non-zero value, we place that in the nums j index location. So nums at index j will be the number. Okay, then we increment j by 1 and then continue this number loop until we finish every iteration of the array and add all numbers at location j with non-zero values. And then we make another for loop, and this is for I in range j to length nums. So if there are 0 values in the array, all we need to do now is fill up the rest of the remaining indices up to length nums with zeros. Because if there were zeros in the first place, they would have been skipped over in the first for loop, and now in the second for loop we're adding it to the end of the array. Okay, going through this first example, we have j is equal to 0. For num in nums, we check if num is not equal to 0. So the first value is 0, and that is actually equal to 0, so we skip over this if conditional. And we iterate again for num in nums. Now it's 1, and we check if 1 is not equal to 0. Yes, 1 is not equal to 0, so nums at location j, which is 0, is equal to num. So nums at 0 is 1. And now we increment j from index 0 to 1 now, so j is equal to 1 so far. And then we iterate again for num in nums. Now it's another 0, and that's not equal to 0. Sorry, that is equal to 0, so we skip over this conditional. The next is a 3, and 3 is not equal to 0, so nums at index 1 will be 3. And we increment j by 1 again, so j becomes 2 now. And then for the last value is 12 for num in nums, and we check, is 12 not equal to 0? Yeah, this is true. 12 is not equal to 0, so nums at location 2 will be num. And that's 12. Okay, we increment j by 1 now, and j becomes 3. For I in range j to length nums. So the length of this is 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's not inclusive. So from range 3 to 4, we say, okay, nums at 3 is 0. Next is nums at 4 is equal to 0. And that's the end of it. We've reached the last value, and we have our nums array. So 1, 3, 12, 0, 0. Okay, let's check the solution. And it works. So the time complexity is O of n, where n is the length of the input list nums. This is because we iterate through the list once to move all of the non-zeros to the front, and then iterate the remaining elements to fill the rest of the list with zeros. And the space complexity is O of 1, because we are modifying the input list in place and not using any additional data structures to scale with the size of the input. That's it for this question. Thank you for watching.